October 31st, 7:10 a.m. Korean Standard Time. A 12-axle mobile launcher rolls out from a hidden site near Pyongyang. The largest missile North Korea has ever built sits atop it, solid-fueled, 50 meters tall, capable of carrying multiple nuclear warheads. At 7:28 a.m., it launches. Japanese Defense Minister Gen Nakatani told reporters the missile's flight duration of 86 minutes and its maximum altitude of more than 7,000 kilometers, 4,350 miles, exceeded corresponding data from previous North Korean missile tests, USNI News. 86 minutes, the longest any North Korean missile has ever stayed in the air, high enough to leave Earth's atmosphere, fast enough to reach any city in the United States. Kim Jong Un watches from the launch site. He calls it an appropriate military action to show North Korea's resolve to respond to its enemy's moves that has threatened the North's safety, USNI News. But within hours, the United States responds. Sunday's drill mobilized the U.S. B-1B nuclear bomber, South Korea's F-15K and KF-16 fighter jets, and Japan's F-2 jets, USNI News. The B-1B, a supersonic strategic bomber capable of carrying 80 tons of ordnance, screams over the Korean Peninsula. South Korean and Japanese fighters escorted to a designated strike zone. The message is clear. North Korea can launch, but so can we. And we're faster. This is the story of the Hwasong-19, North Korea's most advanced intercontinental ballistic missile, the weapon that brought the world to the edge, and the instant military response that followed. To understand what happened on October 31, 2024, you need to understand where North Korea's missile program has been heading. Under Kim Jong Un, North Korea has accelerated the pace of its ballistic missile test launches, Wikipedia. His grandfather, Kim Il-sung, conducted 15 missile tests. His father, Kim Jong-il, conducted 16. But Kim Jong-un? Since Kim Jong-un took power in 2011, North Korea steeply increased the number of missile tests, tallying 129 as of April 2023, Council on Foreign Relations. 129 tests in 12 years. And each one pushes the envelope. North Korea has advanced its ability to strike the U.S. homeland with an ICBM through a series of tests, first in 2017, then in 2022, 4 times in 2023, and most recently in October 2024, Wikipedia. The Hwasong-14 in 2017, the Hwasong-15 in 2017, the Hwasong-17 in 2022, the solid-fueled Hwasong-18 in 2023, and now, in October 2024, the Hwasong-19. Each missile is bigger, each one flies farther, and each one carries Kim Jong-un closer to his ultimate goal, a credible nuclear deterrent that can threaten the United States mainland. One U.S. official said in congressional testimony in April 2025, could deliver a nuclear payload to targets throughout North America, USNI News. But missiles are only half the equation. North Korea also needs warheads. In January 2023, Kim said the country would expand its nuclear arsenal, including the mass-production tactical nuclear weapons, Wikipedia. Experts estimate North Korea may possess enough fissile material to produce up to 90 nuclear warheads, though only about 50 may be assembled, NPR. 50 nuclear warheads, and the missiles to deliver them anywhere in the world. But there's another piece to this puzzle. Russia. South Korea, the U.S., and others have recently accused North Korea of dispatching thousands of troops to support Russia's warfighting against Ukraine, USNI News. North Korean soldiers fighting in Europe. In exchange, many analysts believe Russia is providing technological assistance, satellite technology, nuclear submarine designs, and possibly improvements to North Korea's ICBM capabilities. North Korea could have probably thought its rivals could look down at it after it gave away so much in military resources to Russia, Yang Uk, an expert at South Korea's Asan Institute for Policy Studies, said. The launch may have been intended as a demonstration to show what it's capable of, regardless of troop dispatches or other movements, just security. In other words, don't underestimate us.
And on October 31, 2024, North Korea proved they weren't bluffing. October 30th, 2024, the day before. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin sits across from his South Korean counterpart, Kim Jong Un, in Washington. In the press conference that followed, Kim labeled the North's missile and nuclear programs an existential threat not only to Seoul but the entire region. Austin reaffirmed the U.S.'s commitment to Seoul's defense in line with the policy of extended deterrence. USNI News. Extended deterrence. America's nuclear umbrella. The promise that if North Korea attacks South Korea or Japan, the United States will retaliate with overwhelming force, including nuclear weapons. But Kim Jong Un doesn't believe it. He thinks it's a bluff, and he's about to prove it. October 31st, 2024, 7:10 a.m. KST. Satellite surveillance picks up unusual activity near Pyongyang. A massive transporter erector launcher, the North's largest mobile launch platform that it disclosed in September, USNI News, rolls into position. It's a 12-axle vehicle, the biggest North Korea has ever built, and it's carrying something enormous, the Hwasong-19. North Korea on Thursday tested the newly developed Hwasong-19 ICBM, which flew higher and stayed in the air longer than any other missile it has fired, USNI News. At 7:28 a.m., it launches. The flight. The missile rises. Fast. The solid fuel engine burns without pause. There's no warming, no fueling process, just ignition and liftoff. Within seconds, it's traveling at thousands of miles per hour. The trajectory is steep, almost vertical. Japanese Defense Minister Gen Natani told reporters the missile's flight duration of 86 minutes and its maximum altitude of more than 7,000 kilometers, 4,350 miles, exceeded corresponding data from previous North Korean missile tests, USNI News. 7,000 kilometers. That's over 4,350 miles, high enough to reach space, high enough that if fired on a standard trajectory, it could reach any city in North America. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said North Korea could have tested a new solid-fueled long-range ballistic missile on a steep angle, an attempt to avoid neighboring countries, USNI News. The steep angle is deliberate. North Korea doesn't want the missile flying over Japan. That would trigger immediate military responses. So they fire it almost straight up, then let it fall back down into the Sea of Japan. But the message is unmistakable. We can hit you. Kim Jong Un at the launch site. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un ordered the missile test and was at the launch site, calling the launch an appropriate military action to show North Korea's resolve to respond to its enemy's moves that has threatened the North's safety, USNI News. Kim watches the launch through binoculars. State media cameras capture him smiling, nodding, satisfied. Kim emphasized the need to strengthen the country's nuclear forces, citing the dangerous tightening of their nuclear alliance and various adventuristic military maneuvers by rivals, an apparent reference to the U.S. nuclear umbrella over South Korea and the Allies' frequent war games simulating conflict with the North. He's sending a message, not just to the United States, but to Russia, to China, to the world. North Korea is a nuclear power, and it's not going away. The U.S. response is immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, the Pentagon scrambles a response. Later Sunday, U.S. B-1B bombers and other aircraft separately trained with South Korean and Japanese fighter jets over and near the Korean Peninsula. The B-1B Lancer, America's supersonic strategic bomber, nicknamed the Bone, capable of flying at Mach 1.2, armed with precision-guided munitions, cruise missiles, and bunker buster bombs. North Korea is sensitive to the deployment of U.S. B-1B bombers, which are capable of carrying a huge payload of conventional weapons, Army recognition. The B-1B doesn't carry nuclear weapons, not anymore. But that doesn't matter. What matters is the message. We can strike you faster than you can strike us. The exercise demonstrates the commitment of the ROC-U.S. alliance to integrated extended deterrence in response to the advancing nuclear and missile threats from North Korea, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, USNI News. South Korean F-15Ks and KF-16s join the formation. Japanese F-2 fighters provide escort. The trilateral show of force flies south of the Korean Peninsula, simulating precision strikes on North Korean targets. And the world watches. The diplomatic fallout. U.S. National Security Council spokesperson Sean Sevitt called the launch a flagrant violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions that needlessly raises tensions and risks destabilizing the security situation in the region. Sevitt said the U.S. will take all necessary measures to ensure the security of the American homeland and its South Korean and Japanese allies. Just security. Japan condemns the test. South Korea condemns it. The UN Security Council does nothing, because Russia and China block any meaningful action. U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield accused Russia and China of obstructing efforts at the Security Council to condemn North Korean missile activities. She said Russia's and China's actions were encouraging North Korea to launch ballistic missiles with impunity. Naval Today. Russia needs North Korean ammunition for its war in Ukraine. China wants North Korea as a buffer state against U.S. influence in Asia. So both countries protect Pyongyang from consequences. And Kim Jong Un knows it. The arms race accelerates. The Hwasong-19 test isn't just about technology. It's about timing. The launch comes days before the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Kim's statement suggests he's confident in his growing missile arsenal and will likely continue weapons testing activities ahead of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Naval News. Kim is hedging his bets. If Trump wins, maybe diplomacy resumes. If Biden wins, or Kamala Harris, the status quo continues. Either way, North Korea wants to enter any future negotiations from a position of strength. And that means more missiles. According to a report published by the Defense Intelligence Agency on May 13, 2025, North Korea could possess up to 50 ICBMs by 2035. A development that would severely challenge current U.S. missile defense capabilities. NPR. 50 ICBMs by 2035. That's a force large enough to overwhelm American missile defenses. Patriot batteries, THAAD systems, Aegis destroyers. None of them can stop 50 missiles at once. And if just one gets through, millions die. The Hwasong-19 test changes the calculus. For years, U.S. military planners operated under the assumption that North Korea's missiles were unreliable, that they might fail on launch, that even if they reached the United States, they'd break apart during re-entry. But the Hwasong-19 flew for 86 minutes. It reached an altitude of over 7,000 kilometers, and it landed exactly where North Korea said it would. Demonstrating warhead targeting and re-entry capabilities would involve provocative launches across greater distances, easily said. So more significant tests of both technology and diplomacy are likely in the new year. Naval News. The next test might not be vertical. It might be horizontal, across the Pacific. And that would cross a red line.
Because of possible technology transfer from Russia to North Korea in military satellites, nuclear-powered submarines, and ICBM capabilities. Army recognition. Nuclear submarines. If North Korea acquires that technology, the game changes entirely. Submarine-launched ballistic missiles, or SLBMs, are nearly impossible to detect before launch. They can strike from anywhere in the ocean, and they make preemptive strikes almost impossible. The diplomatic stalemate. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un has repeatedly rejected denuclearization negotiations since the most recent talks in 2019 between President Donald Trump and Kim broke down. According to the U.S. intelligence community's 2025 Annual Threat Assessment, ATA, Kim Jong Un views nuclear weapons as a guarantor of regime security and has no intention to renounce them. Wikipedia. Kim learned a lesson from Libya, from Iraq, from Ukraine, which gave up its nuclear weapons in 1994 and was invaded by Russia in 2014. The lesson: if you give up your nukes, you die. So Kim won't negotiate, not in good faith, Not unless the United States offers something he can't refuse. And right now, America has nothing to offer. October 31st, 2024 was a turning point. Not because North Korea launched a missile, they've done that dozens of times, but because this missile, the Hwasong-19, proved that North Korea's ICBM program is no longer theoretical. One U.S. official said in congressional testimony in April 2025, could deliver a nuclear payload to targets throughout North America, USNI News. It's real, it's operational, and it's getting better. According to a report published by the Defense Intelligence Agency on May 13, 2025, North Korea could possess up to 50 ICBMs by 2035. NPR. 50 missiles, each capable of carrying multiple nuclear warheads, each capable of reaching any city in the United States. And the United States? It has options, but none of them are good. Option 1. Preemptive strike. Destroy North Korea's nuclear facilities before they can be used, but North Korea has hidden its weapons underground, in tunnels, in mobile launchers scattered across the country. A preemptive strike might succeed, or it might trigger a nuclear retaliation that kills millions. Option 2. Missile defense. Patriot, THAAD, Aegis. The United States has layered defenses designed to intercept incoming missiles, but they're not perfect. Pyongyang continues to develop systems capable of bypassing missile defense networks, such as Patriot, Aegis BMD, and THAAD, USNI News. And if just one missile gets through, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, gone. Option 3. Deterrence. The current strategy. Promise overwhelming retaliation if North Korea attacks. Keep forces in South Korea and Japan. Conduct regular military exercises. Hope that Kim Jong Un is rational enough not to start a nuclear war. But hope isn't a strategy. And Kim Jong Un has proven he's willing to take risks that no one thought he would. The world watches. The Hwasong-19 test wasn't just a North Korean event. It was a global one. China watches. If North Korea becomes too aggressive, will the United States station more forces in Asia? Will South Korea develop its own nuclear weapons? Russia watches. Can North Korea's missile technology be reverse-engineered for Russian use? Iran watches. If North Korea can build ICBMs, so can we. And every rogue state, every terrorist group, every adversary of the United States looks at the Hwasong-19 and thinks, maybe we can do that too. On October 31, 2024, North Korea fired a missile. It flew for 86 minutes. It reached an altitude of over 7,000 kilometers, and it landed exactly where it was supposed to. Within hours, the United States responded. B-1B bombers over Korea, F-15s, F-16s, a show of force designed to deter further escalation. But here's the truth. North Korea isn't deterred. Kim Jong Un isn't scared, and the world is running out of options. This is the Hwasong-19, the missile that proved North Korea can strike America, and the instant military response that followed. The question isn't whether North Korea will launch again, it's when, and what the world will do when it happens.